All right. So we're recording. Yay.
Yay, I see the red button.
And today we were with Colette Liose. Am I saying your name right, Colette?
It's Liose.
Liose. Liose. Liose or Liose?
Liose.
Liose. Colette
It's
Liose.
actually Italian. If it was spelled right, you would know that. It's supposed to be Liosi, but years ago it was spelled incorrectly in translation. And so that's how we always know when it's a telemarketer.
Oh, hooray. Okay, great. Well, now I'll never forget because Italian is one of the languages I like to speak. So Colette Liose.
There you go.
Just got to say it with the hand, right?
Yeah.
All right, so today we're here with Colette Liose, and we are doing a bonus call for our class, The Science of Magic and Conscious Creating. And I want to just offer a context for what we've been doing, just because I think it's really valuable, which is that we've been focusing together week after week on connecting with our personal moment-to-moment awareness of our vibrational scale, of our emotional guidance scale, of what we're feeling, and the goal of that being to feel our way into alignment with everything that we want. And so we've been practicing very hard on it. We've been plurking, as we like to say. We've been playing and working.
Oh, that's good. I always call it play. That plurking, though. See, I love new words.
That's great. And so we've been working on awareness of an emotional guidance scale with, joy and empowerment at the top, and then depression at the bottom, and working on a couple of things that I just want to note because they're going to be relevant to what we're doing today. In the middle on this particular version of the scale, which, I made just for this clarity, is neutral, which is like, right?
Yeah.
Below, it's like, and then above, it's like, wee. And so it's basically the scale and then some, detail. And the important distinction of that is this. When we're on the lower half of the vibrational scale, we to soothe. We've got to calm ourselves. We've got to come back into calmness, happiness, regulation. But when we're on the upper half, we can amplify. Another way to think about this is we can diminish momentum, diminish negative momentum when we're down here, soothe, or increase positive momentum when we're up here. So having this awareness of our starting point as Kitty is really, really key. And the reason I mention this right now is I think one of the things that we can be aware of as we're working today with you, Colette, is the soothing versus the amplifying. So sometimes we've got a pain, or we've got a anxiousness, or we've got a frustration. We're going to use tapping to soothe, but other times we can use it to amplify good feelings. And so, great. So that's my whole intro.
In fact, it's really amazing because you're already making it before you even finish your first sentence. I had a session the other night with a lady, and I don't know if we're going to back up and explain tapping, if your peeps know about tapping or what.
I think we're going to do a little of that.
Okay, but I want you to know that we actually started tapping. She just kept saying, I'm off. I don't know why I'm off. And finally, after listening to that for 5 or 6 minutes, I went, I'm off. And it was the craziest, goodest 45, 50-minute tap. We cleared so much garbage. It was amazing. I mean, we were both like amazed.
Fabulous. And let me catch this, Colette, because actually you don't really need to do an intro exactly, because we've been talking about tapping a little bit in the class, and everybody, I think, has a sense of it. I actually uploaded a PDF that shared data about like the details about the points and stuff like that. So what we did talk about, though, is what was the difference between those of us who had experienced it working and those of us who had experienced it not working. And I'd love for you to address that. And there were two elements that we noted. And one is sometimes you just want help from someone else because they keep you focused. So doing it with a practitioner is helpful. And then the other was doing it for a while. And you just mentioned 45 minutes. And I had shared with the class a couple of experiences I had working with clients where we went for a long time and got a fabulous like 45 minutes or something. So great.
Okay, so I tell people all the time, one of the things I have to tell people is while tapping can create 1-minute miracles, okay, you've been working on that crappy thinking for 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years. Yeah. Chances are it's not going to be a 1-minute miracle to change your thinking, because it's about being mindful, thinking deliberately, thinking on purpose, those kinds of things. I even had a lady last night shoot me a text. She was actually supposed to be doing the show with me today. And she said, oh, I can't do it. Well, I ended up making a perfect mistake. There's no mistakes. And I said, well, her daughter had messed up her ankle. And I said, did you tap? And she said, you know, it is really taking me a lot of awareness to realize I can tap on everything. And I said, everything, everything. When I get on the phone with the cable company, I start tapping. Okay, because it means I either get off hold quicker or I get the right person or something happens. When I don't tap, it's frustrating cable company.
Great, great, great. Let me catch this. This is so, so valuable. So, so you were just saying that when you're on the phone, you're just tapping. And what I just want to catch that you were implying is that you're talking on the phone, you're just tapping. You're not saying even though or any of that shit, excuse me.
Because if I'm on the phone with cable, I'm already in the I just covered up in it. I'm already in the feeling of this is going to be chaotic. This is going to be ridiculous. It never goes well. So those thoughts are already going on inside. So you don't even have to say them. I'll tell you, I've been doing this for 10 years.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like Abraham.
Yeah.
After she gets done doing all of her stuff, then she says, we really all make too much of this. Right.
Yeah.
And it's really the same thing with tapping. The more I'm doing it, the simpler it is. It can be as easy as putting your fingers to your face and body and just start tapping. One of the things that I teach all the time is no words tapping.
Yeah.
Let's say you're feeling off and you're like, I don't know why. I'm happy. I got money. I can pay the rent. I don't know what's wrong. Okay. You could just start tapping, no words. By the time you get to the second or the third round, or sometimes just to the fifth spot, you'll go, oh, I know what's going on. I know what's going on. And even then, you don't need words. I just covered up in goosebumps again. One of the things that I've been doing since sometime in January is just start tapping on fear, because I had done a lot of tapping about anger and shame and frustration, all those things. And all of a sudden it popped in my head one day, and it was actually during the World Tapping Summit, which if y'all don't know about that, make sure you get the link from me next year, because not only do I get credit for you going there, but it is 10 days of free tapping. It's like 20 hours of free therapy. It is crazy off the chain good.
Wow.
And you have access to those recordings 2 a day for 24 hours. And it'll be next February, but that's okay. Anybody who wants can go to my timeline, find taps, tap along. I'm realizing that it's simpler and simpler. And when we were on the summit, one of the things that I had started doing before we got there was just tapping generally, all this fear, don't even start with the setup.
Yeah.
And
totally.
just go all this fear, all this fear, all this fear, and then allow yourself to just see what pictures come up, what memories come up, because I would do this, and before I knew it, I was crying. I would have memory come up. I would remember times that felt bad, and you don't have to go into all the words and doing it perfect. I will tell you that in all the years I've been doing it, and especially in the last 3, I get so many people that have tried it and said it didn't work.
Yes.
And people know they don't get to say that to me. So, because most people when they tap with me go, oh, that's not the tapping I was doing. Or that's not the tapping that, so many people are worried about doing it wrong. And one of the things that I've always adored about tapping is you really can't do it wrong. Yeah. The biggest disservice, I will say this because it needs to be said, the biggest disservice you can do yourself with tapping is, let's say that you get into an emotional memory that's painful. You're crying, upset, angry, whatever. You're right there. You've got to keep tapping until you either sigh, yawn, cry, say, maybe it's not that bad. Some kind of shift. And believe me, you will get a shift.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, let me just interrupt, because I just want to, again, contextualize this. So again, what you're talking about is soothing here, right? So you're talking about using no words, but just the tapping. Absolutely. And I want to note too, that you said just touching. And this is another thing that you can do, say, and you're in a meeting and there's other people there. You don't have to be doing this thing.
Look what I'm doing right here. I'm holding 2 spots.
Right. And
Okay?
you'll see people do this all the time. If you start looking, people are constantly touching these points because there's an intuitive understanding of well-being.
Mhm.
So,
There's even points on the wrist. I just did this.
yeah, hold on. Let me put you back on camera. Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Yep, you're good.
I was gonna say, there's a lot of time it's done like this. I haven't used it in a while, but as you said that, I just wrapped my fingers around and my thumb and index were on that pulse point.
Yeah.
Even just to sit there and do this, nobody knows you're doing it.
Yeah.
Or
Exactly.
just rubbing it. Okay. Any of those. Yeah. But we teach people all the time that you already instinctively tap
Yeah.
because we kind of go to those points
Totally.
automatically.
All
Yep.
the time. Like all
Yep.
the gestures you're making right now, we'll see. When I was first learning tapping, I was living in New York City. So I rode the subway all the time and saw thousands of people. And I would just go, oh my God, look at all these people touching all their tapping points.
Yeah.
So you just
Yeah.
see it on the subway and they're doing it unconsciously. They're rubbing or they're scratching or they're.
Yes, and I will tell you, let's just talk about that thing the other night because for some reason that's really coming up big in my head.
Okay.
When I first sat down with this lady the other night, it was really great because the first question I asked her, I knew that she had an issue going on with a family business and a family member. And I said, so how's this family member? And she was like, eh. And then she proceeded to go on and tell me about, now I knew instinctively as soon as we sat down because now my work is highly intuitive.
Yeah.
Okay. I tell people that we are this beautiful diamond, brilliant diamond. Life experience kind of muddies and murks the facets. When we do the tapping, it's like polishing those facets back up, which means we reconnect to our intuitive sense, which is our greatest sense.
Yeah.
So much of my work now is highly intuitive. And I just knew that this person was in there with her. Okay.
Yeah.
And said, how's it going? And she was like, oh, I don't know. But she goes, but really the biggest thing is I've just been off. Well, think about it. If you're going to be in the office with this person over time and you're not used to being there,
Yeah.
she ended up getting sick. She hadn't been sick in years. Okay. She is feeling off all the time. So we start tapping out, like I said, after about 5 or 6 minutes of her saying, she kept trying to explain off to me. And I'm like, oh my God, the amount of energy we use. If you just put your little fingers to your face and body while you're doing that, you would already be connecting to the emotion so
Yeah.
that you can release it from your body.
Yeah.
So we went on and like I said, I just jumped in and I went, okay, I'm off. All this being off, all this feeling off. I don't know why I'm off. Off feels so off. Why am I off? All this off. Just off. It just feels off. Off is so uncomfortable. I mean, we did that for 5 minutes, 3 minutes. And we go on to the next thing. I don't even remember what it was, to where 35 minutes later, I said, so how's it going with so-and-so at the business? And she goes, and I go, okay, that's a not good. I get it. Okay. That's why I always tell people, I want to see you when we tap.
Yeah.
Okay. I tell people all the time, this is the greatest time to be alive because I can see you. It doesn't matter where you are. And I can tell by what happens with your face and your body. I'll see your shoulders go up. I'll see that I can tell what's going on with you.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden she starts telling me about it. And she is, you know how somebody's so annoying, you're rendered speechless. So she's like, well, and I'm going, okay, because I moved my hand right. I just followed. And after about 40 seconds of that, I go, he renders me speechless. I can't even put in words how annoying he is. Well, we ended up having a big fat rant tap.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like taking a shower. Okay, in my head, I just saw sparkles.
Mm-hmm.
It was like just taking an awesome shower and letting all that go down the drain. It was so funny because I said, now what can you do for you tonight? And again, because tapping is really a physiological response
Yes.
to the stress that we create in our body. I love that because some people, think, oh, it looks crazy and it's woo-woo voodoo out there and all that. It's an actual physiological brain-body connection that we're making.
Yeah.
So I said, well, what can you do for you? And anyway, she said, I'll take a bath. And I said, well, I hope you got Epsom salt. We're still tapping the whole time.
Yeah.
And she goes, it's got lavender. And I said, girl, when you pull the plug on that tub, you are going to have so much garbage go down that drain from this tap we had. Because I could physically see her change and release.
Yes.
So we were at about 45 minutes, and it was like the heavens parted and opened up. All of a sudden, better ideas, better thoughts, even to the point where I would tap with people and go, thank God I'm me.
Yeah.
I mean, aren't you glad you're not that person?
Yeah.
Because that person's miserable.
Yeah.
And they don't even have a tool to dispense it like you do. And so it was really, really amazing the amount of garbage that was let go of and all of those things. And then some other things happened where I finally said, I'm creeping myself out. I'm getting off the phone. Because now one of the things that's going on with me is the stuff is coming through, but now I'm almost feeling like there is, now this is just going to sound weird, okay, but probably not to us because we're aware of this kind of stuff, but I almost felt like something was practicing through me the other night.
Sure.
So that I would be more open to even more awareness about what's going on with other people and where they are and stuff like that. So we were laughing and I was going, okay, now I've always known that this comes through me, but this feels a little different. And we're done. We're at an hour. We're done.
And you know, Colette, I'd love to normalize that a little bit too, because in the context of our bigger class and the general work in general of Blissipline and law of attraction, the truth is, you know, Source is always communicating with us one way or another. But the more we practice our intuitive paying attention, the more clearly we receive the messages. It's like the thing that Abraham says, you know, if you are tuned to 88.5 FM and it's being broadcast on 96, you can't get it. But it's still being broadcast. There's data flowing through us all the time. And as we become more and more attuned to it, we'll notice it more and more and more. And then we'll have those moments like you had. Like, oh, what was that? And that's okay. It isn't it suddenly came. It's that we suddenly.
It's that I'm open to it being bigger than it already was. Yeah.
That's right. And it's the same way with composing music, with being a basketball star, with being a genius business person. It doesn't matter what the data is. We have access to data in that way. And so I thought I'd catch that and normalize it, because that's exactly what we're doing. Or the intuition to turn right instead of left and find a perfect parking spot, or to play the lottery this day because that's the day that you're going to win, because you're.
Or to get on my Facebook page and see a guy posting about Abraham on June 3rd and go, oh my God. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, great.
Yeah. Now let me address this too, because you were talking about how some people say they get results and some people don't.
Yeah.
One of the things I have to remind people, and it's funny how things are cyclical for me. It's like once I bring it up with somebody, because of course the law of attraction is always in action, it seems like it becomes a theme for a while.
Yes.
When I very first started tapping, it was 3 weeks of just like an 8-minute tap a day in the morning that I followed along with on YouTube. And at 3 weeks, because I would do my little 8-minute tap, follow along with Brad Yates, because he's big fun. And because he's like me, he's a little more lively, he's got a sense of humor, he's got, you know, I tell people, we need to stop making this, first of all, I don't heal anybody, but let's stop making it so ridiculously hard and frustrating and all that stuff, because I tell people, if you're not having fun, it just needs a little tweaking.
Okay. I love that. So, if you're not having fun, it just needs a little tweaking.
That's right. Motto. There you go. So, anyway, it was 3 weeks of doing that every morning. And at 3 weeks, all of a sudden, I'm sitting there one morning and I just start boohoo crying. And I'm like, where did that come from? Yeah. So it is not unusual from a lifetime of being blocked, okay, to take a while for us to tap, to feel secure enough, to allow that to come forward so that we can start getting those results. Because believe me, when I started crying, I was like, what? Yeah. So, and then the other thing I noticed after that was my husband and I always called ourselves delay people. And what I mean by that is we would tap and it could take a little while or till the next morning sometimes, and you just wake up with a whole different perspective.
That's great. Exactly. Thank you. That's so good. That's so good. And so I'm so glad you said that, because I do really, you know, my intention, like yours, is to share what I know in ways that empower people to have like joy in their lives, right?
Yeah.
But in order to do this, do the steps, the plurking, the working, you have to have a certain level of faith. Because if you try it once and nothing happens and you're like, well, that sucked, you're not going to try it again. But with the information you just gave us, there's a little more encouragement. Just try it again. Just try it again. Give yourself time.
Or just think of it like we do meditation. If first time you meditate, don't most people get up going, nothing happened.
And a lot of people do quit. That's the thing. Even with meditation, that we're just not very good at that idea really of just continuing. But also
and I tell people that there are countries, Eastern countries, where people tap daily like we do aerobics. So I tell people that tapping 10 minutes in the morning is just like you wouldn't play a guitar without tuning it.
Right, exactly.
So tap. In fact, today's show, what I did was I am tapping.
Great.
And I talked about people going to Blissipline because I just love the way you put things and all of that. So I was saying, go find Mary on Blissipline and, like that page because I'm going to be doing a webinar today with them. And because I do love the way that you, I will tell you that when I had my big waking up, one of the things was I said, I don't just want the information. I want it in ways that I can share it so that we stop making this so mystical and hard. It's not. Yes.
I so appreciate that. I so appreciate that. Demystifying, making it simple, enjoying, ow, this cat's biting me.
Because I tell people all the stuff that I know, just like you, Mary, that I know you know.
Yes.
We all know.
Right. We all know. And so many people,
it's just, did you ask? Are you open to it?
Right. Exactly. And so many people do say, well, I feel like I'm coming back to stuff I already knew. And if you feel like that, it's because you are.
Yeah. And I tell people, I don't use the word heal. I tell people all I do is remember you who you are.
I love that. That's so beautiful. That's so beautiful, Colette. Well, great. Do you want?
I'm awesome. That's why.
You are. That's true. Okay, I have a question for you. You really do know you're awesome, and I know you do. You're not just being a smart aleck, but did tapping help you know you were awesome?
Oh my God. Okay. I have to tell people because people find it hard to believe. Yeah. And lately I've been even a little more open about my past. I had a very challenging childhood. Not every minute of it, but the stuff that sticks, the cruddy stuff.
Yeah.
In my 20s and 30s, I was actually suicidal.
Yeah.
Now, I did not try. I would think about it because I thought this place is no picnic. Why am I even here? I had no idea how to navigate this place. I, like so many, just thought it was, the luck of the draw where you end up and About the time I found Louise Hay's book 30 years ago, You Can Heal Your Life. That is a book I tell everyone should own. Not digital, own the hardback book. Okay? Because there's an awesome index in the back of there where it gives every physical ailment. It tells the probable crappy thought cause, and then she gives you an affirmation. That book I found pretty much about the first year of her first publication. I think it was like 84, 85, something like that. And that was the beginning of my learning coming into this world. Yeah. I will tell you that 20 years ago when I found Florence Scovel Shinn and a lot of other things that I found, I remember sitting at my desk at work reading Florence Scovel Shinn, The Game of Life and How to Play It and her affirmations and just crying. Yeah. Because in that moment I realized I couldn't even do one positive affirmation.
Yes, that is such an important discovery, right? That as we're doing it, we find out just how out of alignment we are.
I mean, I would read an affirmation, I'm an irresistible magnet for money, put the book to the side, and then I couldn't think of it.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. My brain was so used to stinking thinking that I had no idea how to string words together into a positive thought.
Yeah, it's powerful.
And so 10 years ago when I found the tapping, I should say when the tapping found me, because it was really answer to prayer. I mean, everything is. Totally. But I didn't realize what I was asking for. It was when The Secret came out. Mm-hmm. And I was already somewhat familiar with law of attraction. But one of the things I heard Rhonda Byrne saying that really hit a chord with me, two things. One, and I think I told you this story before about coming home from Tennessee. I'm listening to the CD on the way home, and Rhonda Byrne says that she's talking about your emotions and how they're your guidance system and how important they are. And I remember I stopped the CD, looked at my husband and went, oh my freaking God. And he goes, what? And I said, my whole life I've been told I'm just too sensitive. So stop being so sensitive. And I now know that those emotions are my superpower and this is my guidance. And that was like the really beginning of like catapulting me into this world.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and teaching other people. That sensitivity is your superpower. So when people want to tell me how empathic they are and, they go, oh, I went into a room and everybody felt bad and I'm so empathic. And I'm like, don't give me that crap. Empathic, we all are.
Right.
And that means that you have the ability to feel all emotions on the emotional scale, looking at your empty to full thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you trained yourself into feeling the lower ones or have you trained yourself into feeling the higher ones? Because when I walk in a room, I find the fun people. Okay. Exactly. I mean, I go right to them or they come right to me. Okay. I don't see the people that are having a miserable time or whatever. So the other thing that Rhonda Byrne said in that was, if you don't know what you're supposed to be doing, and any of you guys listen to this was really just such a great tool for me. Just start asking, what is my bliss? So I walked around for days. I mean, I vacuumed, dust, cook, clean, mow the yard, doing everything. What is my bliss? What is my bliss? What do I love? What can I do? Because I just knew, and probably everybody on here has that feeling or they wouldn't be here, of whether you know what it is or not, you know that there's bigger stuff going on here than just this.
Yes, yes. And, let me just interrupt. I know you're in the middle, but I want to just catch up. I'm just catching the pieces as we go so we can hook our brains on them. So one of the things that you've said twice now is you had a discovery or whatever, and then you practiced.
It actually took me several more years to figure out the practice, and I will tell you about that because this was really amazing. I have a sister who is absolutely amazing. Okay. Yeah. She was my first teacher about a lot of this stuff. Like when she found Abe and she made sure I knew, and we would talk about stuff and I would call her and she would listen to me cry and gripe and then say, well, you created that, right? And then I'd be mad at her. And she was at our home and I remember it was Easter time because we were out on the screened-in porch. It was an absolutely beautiful day. I walked out on the porch. I loved being around Jane. I just absolutely adore her. Thought, how could we have ended up in the same family? She's so mentally good and I'm such a depressed naysayer, negative, yada, yada. And I walked out to her and I said, why is it that you get such a good life and I don't?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I was ticked.
Yeah.
And I was even more mad at her answer because she said, it's practice. And I said, you don't get it. Which, of course, now we laugh about all the time. Right. I said, you just don't get it. It's not like that for me. And of course, I hear people say this all the time now. Right. And she said, nope, it's practice. And I said, it's not. I was so irritated. Because when you're in that space and somebody tells you it's practice, that is really annoying.
Yeah. And yet, of course, it is practice. So you've got to tell them that. You've got to take them off.
So that's where when I started getting all the infinite wisdom I was getting since 2012, because that's when I had my big waking up and nighttime visits and downloads of info and all of that stuff, and then from there went on to learning about the brain and the neuro pathways and the neural bundles and all these things that go on. I remember before I was even aware this was brain body science, I said to my husband one morning, because we had to tap most every morning, I said, what if this is your physiology working the way it's exactly supposed to? And then of course I learned that's true.
Yes, right.
What's going on? So yes, it became practice, but I'm going to tell you something right now. And anybody who's listening, I tell everybody this is the greatest time ever to be alive.
Yeah.
The work's been done. Yeah. All you've got to do is go to YouTube, put in an earbud, and listen to affirmations.
Yes.
For me, here's what made a quantum leap for me. I had done tapping for several years. We'd moved into this townhouse we're in now. Every day I would tell myself I'm going to dig in and do these affirmations, and I wouldn't. And then the next day I'd go into guilt. You know, it was really me recreating the vibrational attachment.
Yes.
Because when we start to separate from the negative emotional stuff, it feels a little uncomfortable. So we recreate sabotage. So we get the guilt. So we're hysterical. Okay. So I took my MP3 player and I just recorded I love and approve of myself. Put it on repeat. Put it in my ear all day long. I love and appreciate. I love and approve. I love and forgive. Whatever. Okay. Did that for, then the next day changed the affirmation. I'm awesome. I'm amazing. In between, when I walk an hour a day or do elliptical or some kind, I would walk and say my affirmation over and over the whole time, because your brain, and I don't know if I want to say brain or mind, don't get caught up in that. It's a recording device.
Right.
So when you are doing this practicing, it's like hitting the record button again. So you've just got to know that it really is the practice, and that everything that you've got going on in your life right now, whether you get it or not, you practiced your way to.
Yes.
Everything you want, you're going to practice your way to. Now I have clients that say to me, well, how long do I got to practice? And I go, oh, that's easy. The rest of your life.
Yeah.
And they go, oh, and I go, now wait a minute. You're already practicing every day anyway. It's just the practice is easy because you've practiced stinking crappy thoughts so long. You don't even have to think about it. They just come out.
Exactly. Okay. And so again, I'm just going to catch it one more time here. So here's the deal. For those of you who are listening, who are not in the good place, where maybe Colette and I are actually irritating because we're cheerful and positive, that's how it works. Cheerful people are really irritating when you're in a bad place. Colette was saying how she's been suicidal. I too share that in my class all the time. I spent a good, I don't even know, 25 years, 20 years being suicidal, really miserable every single day. And I am not
scared. I was so bundled up in fear. Oh.
Right. And it took practice, but most of the time I was practicing, I didn't really know it was going to work. And so I just really encourage you, just start with something, start with tapping, start with affirmations, start with whatever you can make yourself do.
Well, the best example I really like to give is when you were a little kid and you wanted to learn how to ride a bike. You did not do it perfect the first time.
Yep.
As soon as they let go of the seat, you probably fell. Okay.
Yep.
Now you did not stand up from that bike, kick the bike and say, I am never doing that again. Yep. You so wanted the freedom that you were going to get from riding that bike. And this is the same way it works in thought. You so want the freedom of a happy life. Okay. That you wanted to do it again. You were like, I could do this better. I know I'm going. So when you I have a saying, when you start celebrating everything, you get more to celebrate. So even when you're feeling crappy, if you can go, hey, at least I'm aware I'm feeling crappy. Before I didn't even know I was feeling crappy. Yes. The universe goes, we love celebration. I don't know. I tell you, I don't know who's with me or who does this, but I am covered up in goosebumps, head to toe.
I am too. I was feeling like high as you were talking. So, all right. Well, so let's do some tapping, Colette. Lead us through some stuff. Actually, I wonder, do you mind if I just open up for any thoughts or questions to see what?
Absolutely. And I was going to say, if somebody's got something specific, let me just say this real fast. If somebody's got something specific, don't anybody else worry and go, oh no, we're not going to get to my issue. There is a really awesome thing that happens with tapping. It's called borrowing benefits. Yep. And what borrowing benefits is, let's say we're working on somebody's shoulder because they've had shoulder pain and we're tapping on that. Okay. Tap along, say the words, don't worry about it. You're still going to get benefit because everything is energy. You can't tap and not get benefit.
Right. It occurs to me, this is just another way of what Abraham says. So the universe doesn't hear what you say. The universe hears what you mean, and you know what you mean by how you feel. So
by how you feel.
If you're feeling shoulder pain or you're feeling angst, it doesn't matter. We're tapping on what we're feeling.
Yeah. And also I should say that tapping, because we are in a world where so many people have so much anxiety, tapping is phenomenal for anxiety.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you know, I read a case history one time where a lady was addicted to what do they call it? Meth.
Mm-hmm.
Meth. 30 days of 30 minutes a day tapping on anxiety, and the meth addiction was just gone.
Right, because it was
It's really a challenge for us to wrap our brain around that, because we were trained so backwards.
Yeah, so backwards. So let me just note for anyone who wasn't here at the beginning of the call that, we'll be sharing this widely. Colette will place it on her page and everything. So if while you're talking, if you don't want your face to show, just close the video and we'll hear your voice and not see your face. But just know that if your face, if we can see it, that might end up recording. I don't know, because it seems to be somewhat out of my control. It gets recorded. Mm-hmm. So who would like to bring something up or work on something?
I have a question. It's Gail.
Hi, Gail.
Just a quick question, Colette. I remembered what we talked about, what my question was. The others you answered. And that was, what about concerns of speaking things while you're doing it that may be negative things?
Oh, yes. Thank you. Okay. Here's the whole thing with tapping. We are actually addressing the negativity. Now, I know that we are in a time where everybody says, oh, don't talk negative, you'll get it back, okay? When we are doing the tapping, we are telling the truth. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And that, so many people will say, don't say the negative, but here's the thing. You're thinking it anyway. You're feeling it anyway, okay? Here's the way I describe it, and I'm kind of graphic. I'm just a bare bones girl. But if you are walking around feeling unworthy, okay, and you're walking around saying, I'm worthy, you are putting sugar on poop, and I don't care how much sugar you put on poop, it's still going to taste like poop.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is we're actually excavating that poop.
Yeah. Totally. And I know also from a law of attraction point of view, especially people who talk with Abraham or study Abraham, they can get stuck on this too. But I want to be absolutely clear, and Abraham is plenty clear on this too, by the way.
Because Abraham even says, start where you are. Exactly. And that's what I say in tapping.
That's right. And when you just said, Colette, we're telling the truth. In tapping, we're doing it moment by moment by moment. So if I'm feeling better, now I'm feeling better. So there is an acknowledgement of what is that is current. It's not like, oh, my life has always been so sucky and and my mom this. It isn't that at all. It is the current moment experience, and it is completely different. We acknowledge the truth of how we are feeling, because that's our emotional vibration. It's our guidance scale.
Right. Well, now I want to say something about that, and that is this. Yeah. A lot of times people will start to tell me a story, okay? Yeah. And then I say, well, how does that make you feel on a 1 to 10 or whatever? They go, oh, that doesn't bother me. I let go of that years ago. And I go, okay, but here's the thing that we're working on. Yeah. We are going back to that moment when it was in there, because I tell people it's like, I don't know why I keep getting poop emojis in my head, but when you get diverticulitis, that is like the folds in the colon where basically crap gets stuck, okay, and it can create big pain, okay?
Yep.
Mary gets where I'm going already. So what we're doing is we're tapping about the crap that's stuck in the folds that's still causing you pain that you're not even aware of. Man, right. That was good.
Otherwise, you wouldn't be bringing it up. And that's just it. Exactly. And so if it's present in the moment, it's here in the moment. That was awesome.
Yeah. And if you keep tapping, you will, whether it's yawning, sighing, burping. Someone said, well, you did them all but farting. So I'm going to say farting, sneezing, crying, any of those.
Growling.
Who?
Stomach growling.
Oh my gosh. When I started doing this fear tapping, there was one day my stomach squeaked.
Yeah.
I remember looking at it like it was like, whoa, because when I started doing the general fear tapping and letting that stuff come up, it was funny because I had that happen. And then a few days ago, I don't get acid reflux. I had the Bernie stuff, and I went and looked, and guess what it was? Fear, gripping fear. And I went, oh, so it's working its way from my belly up, because in tapping, we do a thing called chasing the pain, okay? Letting it leave the body. Okay. Yep. So yes, when we are tapping, it's perfectly fine to say the negative. It's what we're doing. We're just telling the truth. So the other night, as much as that lady did not want to be talking about her family member, when I really got her rolling, it only took me a couple spots of putting in my own stuff for her to go. Okay. We were laughing because, see, people always feel like you're throwing somebody under the bus. You're not. Okay. You're just saying, I don't care for that behavior. And that's okay.
Yeah.
And when we're doing the negative emotions and we're tapping, you're validating your own feelings. And that is really important. And I tell you, that's really important for this reason. When something happens and you don't like how it went down, okay?
Yes.
And you're trying to sugarcoat it, okay? Or you go find somebody to tell the story to because you think when they concur with you that, yeah, what that person did was pretty crappy, okay, that you're going to feel validated and okay. But when you tell that story and the guy goes, yeah, you got screwed, what do? We go, yes, I did. And we go find somebody else to tell that story to.
Yeah.
And because your isness does not know time, so you're telling the story now, even though it's about the past, is now.
Yes.
You are re-traumatizing your whole body.
Yes.
So the reason that we say the negative is to validate for ourselves, this is how we feel, and I don't need anybody else's opinion about it.
That's right. That's exactly right. And just again, because I'm always contextualizing, if we're going to develop sufficient sensitivity to our emotional guidance scale to be able to respond well to it, you know, that sort of like the way dogs can follow a smell, right? If we're going to be able to use it, we have to have internal permission to feel what we're feeling. And
Yes.
so often that's gotten suppressed or confused by other people's input, that it's really helpful for us to begin to say, whoa, hold on. I don't care what anyone says. This is how I feel. I just do. And it's just a moment. It's not like I had an identity piece. It's just an acknowledgement. Then tapping, poof, you're in a whole nother place. So who even cares? You don't feel that way
And
anymore.
based on what you just said, that's another really big concept is that I will say to people, I give myself permission to feel this anger. I give myself permission to be angry. I give myself permission to say, hey, that wasn't okay.
Yeah.
You see, because we are so trained in this world that we need permission. I mean, you know, one of the things I tell, and I know a lot of this is stuff that, you know, we've talked about before. You have to raise your hand and get permission to go to the bathroom.
Crazy, right?
In school. So if you don't think that you've got that whole thing in here so ingrained that you need permission, that even something as simple as saying, I give myself permission to let this go.
Yeah.
That's big stuff. Yeah. Big stuff.
Great.
Yep.
Great.
So I have no idea where we were.
Yeah. We're going to hear from some people.
The negative. So did I address that for you, Gail? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I actually, since I asked you last week, I think I resolved it myself in the tapping, but I knew it was a question that others would have.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
There was such clarity in what you just said. So much reassurance. It was awesome. Thank you.
Excellent. And remember this, when you feel that shift, whether it's yawning or you just don't feel as bad about it, or all of a sudden you have there's plenty of times I tap and just have a big awareness all of a sudden, this is not my crap.
Yeah.
That then you want to do a minute or two or a few rounds of what I have trademarked posi tapping, where you're going in and saying, man, I'm so glad I took care of me. I am so awesome. This is extreme self-care. I love me. I love taking care of me. I am so freaking good. You see how I've practiced it, you think?
Yes. And I have to just do it one more time because you said we're so in sync, but I just want to note. So here's like, I feel like crap. I'm tapping. And then, oh, phew, relief. And then, oh, I'm so great. Oh, I'm so happy. I'm so awesome. So it's the soothing of the negative momentum and the amplification of the positive momentum, but you got to be where you are. You can't do that soothing, you can't do that amplifying good stuff when you're in the bad.
I got to say this. I don't think it's me. There's somebody on here listening that has big fear.
Okay.
You don't have to say whether it's you or not, but I'm wondering if that's not the place to tap, is just do like I've been doing, because then you guys can come back and you can use this part of the recording over and over. I always tell people that when I'm doing this is like a jumping off point. Okay. Because what we're trying to do, we really are trying to connect the dots to get back to that story that felt emotionally the same as how I'm feeling now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love to tap on fear. I think that's a great idea.
Okay. So we're just going to do it the way that I've been doing it lately.
Okay.
And the validation that I got, let me explain this spot right here. This is called the psychological reversal spot. It's the side of the hand, and it's where we usually start. And the reason I love this, and I've been tapping this so much more, and you can do this in meetings. You can do this when somebody's talking to you. This is like the big kahuna spot, okay? This is like the grand poobah spot. This is a spot where when I say I want to let go of fear, that part of me that says, oh, don't do it, danger, 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 that takes care of the psychological reversal going on in our brain.
Great.
So the way I've been starting it, and I'm going to look here and just see what kind. Okay, it's 12:50. All right, so let's all go to the eyebrow spot. And I'll name these spots the first couple times we do it in case you guys haven't actually done it.
Right.
Okay.
And
it's two.
Eyebrow, right? Go ahead.
Right where the eyebrow starts. It's not third eye. Okay, a lot of people want to go third eye. It's right where the eyebrow starts. Yep. And you can do 2 fingers, 4 fingers, one side, the other side. You can do it this way. It does not matter. Okay.
Yep.
So tapping on that eyebrow spot, and what we're going to do is we're actually going to follow this bone right around the eye, because the next spot's the side of the eye. Excuse me. The next spot, from tapping, I'm already burping. Did you just hear that? Yeah. Under the eye is that bone, okay? The next one's under the nose, right there, okay? Now, I like to use at least 2 fingers. You're going to tap about 7 or 8 times. You don't need to beat yourself up. Okay, you're just lightly tapping. The next one's called chin. It's really under the mouth. It's that dent, okay? Yep. The next spot's collarbone. It's right where the knot from a man's tie goes, okay? The real spot is those little bones. It's down 1 inch and over 1 inch. And if, for me, they're always sensitive. That's the real spot. But if you just tap there or like that, okay? The next one's called...
You know, I'm so glad you said that, Colette, because I was going to ask you about that, because there's actually a lymph node right where the spot is, and that's why it's sensitive. And I had seen you say the tie thing, and I kept meaning to ask you about that. So is your sense that when you tap where the tie is, it just sort of generalizes that specific...
Yes, because if you look anywhere where we tap, there's bone behind it, and what we're actually doing is vibrating the bone, and that vibrates the meridian system.
So it isn't that precise physically because it vibrates the area. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. I had been meaning.
You're welcome.
About that.
And so that's why we generally just do this here. Okay. Now, Gary Craig, who developed EFT, taught another way, if you don't want to do this, that you can also get, if you feel around up here, it'll get real sensitive somewhere. And that is a way, like sometimes when I'm driving, I'll rub that spot.
Yeah, got it.
Rather than try and do this while I'm driving, because that's not a good plan.
Right.
The next one is under the arm. Now, for women, it's about the middle of the bra strap. If you're doing it with a man, it's about 4 inches down from the armpit.
Okay.
Right there.
Unless he's wearing a bra.
If you had a line that went right down the middle of your body, right there, okay? You can do it this way, too. Kids love this way because then we do monkey. Yeah. Okay. And then top of the head is just the top of the head on the crown in a little circle. Not a big deal, okay? And we're just doing that over and over again. But one of the things that I put in that I heard on the tapping summit was to be using the karate chop, the side of the hand a lot more, okay?
Can I just interrupt real quick? Because Kaya Maria, I see you're on a bus, and so I'm just going to offer you this, that if you and your friend want to do this, but you don't want to make a big spectacle on the bus, you can just touch the area gently, and no one will notice that you're doing crazy stuff. So
yeah, you won't look like you're at the zoo and need to be behind a cage.
Okay. Go ahead.
You can even, if you're on the bus, you can even just think about the spot we're tapping.
That's powerful, right?
Yes.
I just got chills when you said that. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. And let's say this again. That's why I tell a lot of people to do mirror tapping. The reason I love mirror tapping, first of all, you're probably going to cry. A lot of us can't look in the mirror without crying because we feel so pathetic or whatever. Yeah. Just more to love is the way I look at that.
I love how you are. You crack me up.
Seriously, I have to tell people I did not used to be this much fun. I mean, I've always been outgoing, okay? But it was more on the snarky, cynical side.
Yeah, yeah.
Way more.
And the self-love thing is a development of the kind of work you've done. And
listen, when you can tap in front of the mirror naked, then you know you've arrived, okay? It's really powerful. Oh yeah, because like now I'm rocking the cellulite. I got it all. So, so anyway, so what I want you guys to do is one of the first things we do with tapping is we rate if there's something specific we're working on. But since we're going to do fear generally, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to think about something if you can. If you can't, don't worry about it, okay? Think about something that makes you, that you know brings up a fear response.
Okay.
Oh, I don't know why they just gave me this. It could even be if you know when you ride a roller coaster.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to start somewhere like that, ooh, that's kind of easy, gentle place to almost start. If you've got a meeting coming up, if your boss is mean, if your mother-in-law is terrible, if you don't know how you're going to pay the mortgage, anything that gives you this fear response that you know.
Yep.
Okay. Because when you're in that fear, it's lighting up your brain. Now the brain is doing things to the body. And what the tapping does is we actually calm down your brain.
Nice one.
Yeah. So get that thing in mind. Think about something that creates fear. And fear has a lot of it. I mean, it can also go by shame, disgust. I mean, you know, fear covers everything negative. That
Yep.
bottom half of Mary's empty and full thing. And I want you to rate that on a 0 to 10. 0 being it's not even an issue. 10 being it's the most it can bother you. Now, if it's really below a 3 or a 4, you want to really pick something else. You want to kind of be up there. Okay. So let's go to the side of the hand. You've got your thing in place now. You're thinking about it. Okay. If you've got a body pain or anything else like that, just get focused on it. Okay. Look at you already starting to yawn.
Yep.
I love it. Okay. All this fear. You're going to repeat after me. All this fear.
And feel free, everybody, do whatever you want. All this fear.
All this fear in my mind and body.
All this fear in my mind and body.
All this old fear.
All this old fear.
Man, I got fear.
Man, I got fear.
I don't know how to let go of fear.
I don't know how to let go of fear.
All this fear.
All this fear.
Fear, fear, fear.
Fear, fear, fear.
In my head.
In my head.
In my body.
In my body.
Let's go to the eyebrow.
In my bed.
All this fear.
All this fear.
Side of the eye.
Right. Yep.
All this fear.
All this fear.
Under the eye. All this fear.
All this fear.
Under the nose. All this old fear.
All this old fear.
Chin. All this old gunky fear.
All this old gunky fear.
Collarbone. All this old gunky fear.
All this old gunky fear.
Uh-oh, what happened to me?
I don't know.
I
I still
can't
see you.
Oh, because I can't see you.
Oh, I
Under the
see
arm.
you. We're still good.
Okay, there you are. All this old fear.
All this old fear.
Top of the head. All this old fear.
All this old fear.
Eyebrow. Fear, fear, fear.
Fear, fear, fear.
Side of the eye. All this fear.
All this fear.
Now, the reason I'm closing my eyes, you guys, is that a lot of times I just let the pictures come up that are going to come up, okay? So don't think I'm ignoring you. Under the eye. All this fear.
All this fear.
Under the nose. If you can, close your eyes. Let the pictures come up. Let that picture come up. All
Okay.
this fear.
All this fear.
Chin. All this old fear.
All this old fear.
Collarbone. All this old fear.
All this old fear.
Under the arm. I've had it for so long.
I've had it for so long.
Top of the head. I'm just wadded up in fear.
Just wadded up in fear.
Take a nice breath. Okay, now if you had a picture come up, or if a part of your body hurts more, like your shoulder, let's say maybe you're getting a stinging pain or a stabbing pain or something, that's all really good stuff. Don't be afraid of that. That's what we're actually doing. A way that another great tapping lady explains this, Carol Look, is we're calling up the file we're going to edit.
Great.
Okay, all right, so going back to the karate chop,
Mm-hmm.
all this fear.
All this fear.
So eyebrow, all this anxious fear.
All this anxious fear.
Side of the eye, all this scary fear.
All this scary fear.
Under the eye, all this debilitating fear.
All this debilitating fear.
Under the nose, all this old habit of fear.
All this old habit of fear.
Go back to the side of the hand,
Mhm.
okay, because I'm just going to do that a bunch. All this fear in my body.
All this fear in my body.
That's in my mind.
That's in my mind.
This long time habit of fear.
This long time habit of fear.
this anxious fear,
Anxious fear.
this controlling fear,
This controlling fear.
this crappy fear.
This crappy fear. We
Go
call
back to the chin.
Happy, by the way.
Crappy and happy, chin, all this crappy fear,
All this crappy fear.
collarbone, this long time habit of fear.
This long time habit of fear.
Under the arm, all this fearful fear.
All this fearful fear.
Top of the head, all this fearing fear.
All this fearing fear.
Yeah, see, look at you, go.
Oh,
You
God.
go, girl. Yeah.
I'm so relaxed. I gotta
Yeah,
tell
okay, I was gonna say. So take a breath.
you. Yeah.
Okay, now I will tell you for me when I did it,
Yeah.
I was actually thought I was tapping about my father and releasing stuff. And all of a sudden, when I started doing that, up came my mom saying, if you could just stop being so sensitive.
Okay, great.
And all of a sudden, I realized, oh my God, I always thought I was a disappointment to my dad. And I, in that moment, felt the extreme disappointment I felt like I was to my mother.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, the reason I can tell you now without crying is because that morning when I had that big awareness, I went to, I had that huge awareness. So from there, where I went, and you guys follow along, okay? Side of the hand. And I don't even rate stuff a lot of time. I just base it on how I feel, honestly.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I love the intuitive way you do this, Colette, that there's just a following of the sort of feeling in the body, this intuitive feeling in the body. And because you also have this empathic quality, I'm sure when you're working one-on-one, this is how it is for me too. I literally feel in my body what they're feeling. And so,
And I feel it in my body where they feel it too.
me too.
Which is really great because that really helps me follow it for them. So
Exactly.
I bet you we're going to hit some spots here with people. And it doesn't matter if it was your father or your husband or your boyfriend or your mom. Doesn't matter because I'm going to say mom. Okay? So that doesn't matter. Even though I felt like such a disappointment to my mother,
Even though I felt like such a disappointment to my mother,
I deeply and profoundly
I deeply and profoundly
love and honor myself.
love and honor myself.
And even though I felt like such a disappointment to my mother,
And even though I felt like such a disappointment to my mother,
because I was way too sensitive,
because I was way too sensitive,
now I know it's my superpower.
now I know it's my superpower.
And I deeply and profoundly
And I deeply and profoundly
love and honor myself,
love and honor myself,
my superpower,
my superpower,
and my mother.
and my mother.
She was just confused.
She was just confused.
Yeah. And even though
Even though
I felt like such a disappointment,
I felt like such a disappointment,
and I trapped that in my little body
and I trapped it in my little body
and carried it for a very long time.
and carried it for a long time.
Because I thought if I could figure out
Because I thought if I could figure out
how I was being a disappointment,
how I was being a disappointment,
I could stop doing it.
I could stop doing it.
No.
No.
And I deeply and profoundly
And I deeply and profoundly
love and honor all my feelings,
love and honor all my feelings,
my awareness,
my awareness,
my superpower,
my superpower,
and my mom.
and my mom.
She was doing the very best she could.
She was doing the best she could.
Eyebrow. All that disappointment I thought I was.
Disappointment I thought I was.
Side of the eye. I was so worried about being a disappointment.
I was so worried about being a disappointment.
Under the eye. It felt so bad.
It felt so bad.
Under the nose. Look at Mary yawning. Woohoo! All this mother disappointment.
All this mother disappointment. Not that this is my issue at all. Just
Yeah, right. Jen, all this old mother disappointment fear.
all this old mother disappointment fear.
Collarbone. As a little being,
As a little being,
I just wanted her to love and adore me.
I just wanted her to love and adore me.
Under the arm, I never felt like I was enough.
I never felt like I was enough.
Top of the head, all this old fear and disappointment
All this old fear and disappointment
that I won't be enough
that I won't be enough
for my mother to love me.
for my mother to love me.
Oh my God, can you, y'all are gonna have to go take an Epsom bath when we get done.
Right?
Eyebrow, all that old garbage,
All that old garbage.
side of the eye. I like letting it go.
I like letting it go.
Under the eye, it feels so much better.
It feels so much better.
Under the nose. To know I've always been enough.
To know I have always been enough.
Chin, she was just confused.
He was just confused.
Collarbone. That's not my stuff.
That's not my stuff.
Under the arm. I'm letting it go.
I'm letting it go.
Top of the head. It's safe for me
It's safe for me.
to let a little bit of this go.
Let a little bit of it go.
Eyebrow. I'm feeling more empowered.
I'm feeling more empowered.
Okay, I'm looking. We've been doing this about 15 minutes, so now I'm just going to switch to empowerment. Okay?
Right.
Side of the eye. I am feeling more empowered.
I am feeling more empowered.
Under the eye. I can feel my energy coming up.
I can feel my energy coming up.
Under the nose. I'm feeling better about me.
I'm feeling better about myself.
And mom.
And my mom.
Collarbone. It's nice to know that I can feel better about this.
It is nice to know that I can feel better about this.
Under the arm. That I can feel empowered
That I can feel empowered
by acknowledging the negativity.
by acknowledging the negativity.
Eyebrow. Because they made me think it'd get stuck.
Because they made me think it gets stuck.
Side of the eye. I'm actually setting it free.
I'm actually setting it free.
Under the eye. I feel lighter.
I feel lighter.
I feel gooder.
I feel gooder.
Chin. I'm feeling so much better.
Feeling so much better.
Collarbone. I am power.
I am power.
Under the arm. I'm very powerful.
I'm very powerful.
Top of the head. And I'm releasing limitation.
And I'm releasing limitations.
Let's just take a nice big breath. Now, you guys need to understand, I did not have a script, okay? Obviously, I've been doing this long enough that this stuff flows out of me. I do get stuck sometimes, just like anybody else, but when you remember you can never get stuck, there is no stuck.
You can always just tap on stuck.
You can always just tap on stuck. You can always just tap without words.
Yep.
You will eventually have those words or a feeling or a picture come out of you.
Yes. Yes. And, let me appreciate that you're making a note of that. So you might have the words, or you might have a feeling, or you might have a picture. This is one of the things that we process differently. Some of us process very verbally. Some of us process very visually. We'll have images arise, and some of us process very somatically. And we won't have words or images arrive. We'll just have a feeling. And however you process, tapping will help that move more clearly into your awareness.
Yeah. And I got to tell you, in talking about the senses like that, I had a really cool thing I realized a couple years ago. I have hearing like a dog. I'm sorry. And actually, my hearing like a dog hears dogs, okay? Dogs barking and all that stuff kind of makes me crazy when the neighbors aren't considerate. So I realized in tapping, it was really amazing that I realized through the tapping that there were 9 of us. I don't know how many of you know my backstory. You probably don't. There were 9 of us. And if one person got the crap beat out of them, everybody did. Okay. And so I got really used to, if you can believe it, there were 10 of us living in a 1,500 square foot ranch. And I got to where my hearing was so adept so that I would know when my dad was walking down the hall. And I didn't realize till a couple years ago in tapping that my hearing is so fine-tuned because that was part of my safety.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So that's why the tapping is just so awesome, what it lets come up. Exactly. Now, I don't want to downplay my hearing. I still want my hearing to be good.
Totally.
Yeah. So, I didn't tap out good hearing. I'm using it to hear great stuff.
Yes. I love
like
it.
when people say, Colette, you're amazing. I'm like, oh, I heard that.
It's wonderful. Wonderful.
Yeah.
That was great. So thank you for leading us through that. And I guess I'd love to see if anyone has any questions at this point that you'd like to ask Colette. Just feel free to jump in. Whoever has a question, you can. Oh, hold on. I did mute a phone call just because I was hearing noises. But okay, everyone can now just unmute yourself and talk. Any question you would like. Yes, Gail.
Yeah, I have another, just short one. I did some tapping earlier in the week, and I just had some time that I wasn't really feeling any words or any emotion. And then it got to a point that I had been doing it for about 15, maybe 17 minutes. And I decided, well, it isn't changing right now. I felt in a good place. But where do you end in terms of, do you end with the karate chop? Does it matter where you end when you're doing it?
Now, just
Okay.
get to a place, I would say well, you don't end a phone call just by hanging up in the middle. I mean, I usually finish around. I usually finish back up and end up at the top of the head.
Okay.
You could finish up at the side of the hand. That would be a really good place. I appreciate myself and the time I spent. I'm doing well. This was extreme self-care, good all over me, and then be done.
Yeah. Let me share something here. I have a friend who teaches tapping, and she created this little thing that she does that I totally stole. I love that at the very end, she taps her wrist in one hard thing like that and breathes in while holding it, and then goes, peace.
Oh, that's nice.
I love it. It just makes me so happy. It cracks me up.
Yeah.
Now, is it better? No, it's just nice. So I thought.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times after I tap, I had a guy ask me when I was at this show over the weekend where I was like the MC for all the vendors and stuff. Guy came up to me about 3:00 on Saturday and he said, "Where do you get the coffee?" And I said, "I don't know." And he goes, "Well, where'd you get yours?" And I go, "I don't have coffee." And he goes, "You're not on coffee?" And I said, "No, this is just me." I mean, I'm even drinking decaf tea. So, I'm just telling you, I have my coffee at 5:30 in the morning. So there is no way that now at 2:00 or whatever time it is, no, I'm not coffeeed up. This is me. I'm telling you, the more you tap, the energy that you are really just gets to come through and be freer and feel better. Now, when I sleep great. I sleep. There is not anything you cannot use tapping for. A really good time to tap, Gail, and everybody, is before you go to sleep, when you first wake up. Really good times to tap. But as far as what you want to end up with, even if you want to do it yourself, I love that emoji from the Emotional movie where the girl jumps, Joy with the blue hair. I post that everywhere. That's what goes on in my head all the time, I swear to God. So to me, when I'm done tapping, it's not unusual for me. I want her. Where'd you get her? At a toy store?
I ordered it online. So
that is me.
Listen.
Oh my God, that is me. Yeah, that's awesome. That is so freaking awesome. I've got 2 gifts of her that I love. I'm gonna text them to you sometime.
All right.
But that's like what goes on in my head. So it's not, I will tell you that I just started something 2 weeks ago. I actually had a couple mothers. They wanted me to tap with their kids. They each came with 2 kids. And I had gotten this divine download. Because when I get done tapping, I'm usually so ramped up, whether it's the treadmill or elliptical or whatever, I will dance. It's not unusual for me to dance. And then I all of a sudden realized what a great energy mover. So when I did the tapping with the moms and their kids, I did what we call tap and dance. So we would tap for 8 to 15 minutes, and then we'd get up and play Uptown Funk and dance and tap while we're dancing. And we had the most fun. I could see this as an after-school activity.
Yeah. Nice.
So yes. For me, sometimes it's movement. Sometimes I just get up and I will tell you this. I always tap until I feel better.
Great.
Do not leave, it's like I said in the beginning of this, do not leave the tapping feeling really bad. Because if you're feeling that bad, that means you brought everything up. Just keep tapping. You're right there. It will shift.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, because people used to tell me it would shift, and I'm like, they don't know me. What do they mean, shift? Honestly, the more you do it, the more you'll be aware of it. Just keep doing it. It's practice.
Yes, it's practice. Exactly. And this is the thing really that it's why I founded Blissipline, which we'll notice includes the word discipline kind of hidden in it.
Yes.
And it's why my website is called Thriving in Practice. We create our lives one moment at a time, and we change have practiced what we are experiencing. As you said, we've practiced despair, we've practiced fear, we've practiced all that stuff. So now we're deliberately creating a counterbalance by practicing these other things.
Well, and when you understand that there is nothing but now, when
Yes.
you are practicing feeling good in this now, it takes care of the future now.
Yes.
And I'm just going to tell you, I mean, so many ideas and concepts that I got and understood and was like, wow, we say it's not the destination, it's the journey. I don't know who that is, but hello. We say it's not the destination, it's the journey, but we're all destination oriented.
Yeah, yeah.
And we're missing that the journey is right now. Am I being happy?
That's right. That's right. Here and now in this moment, how am I doing?
Yeah.
Perfect.
So when I take care of my joyful now, that's the journey, that my destination will take care of itself. And I will tell you honestly, there was a point in my life, and it wasn't that many years ago, to, go from all the crappy thinking I was doing to start to practice more, have the earbuds in. I listen to stuff as I'm falling to sleep. Then my husband comes in and whether he takes the stuff off me or I do, we get all the garb off of me in the bed. But I can remember thinking, when I practice this enough and get it perfect, then no more crap the rest of my life, right?
I love it.
And then all of a sudden, I remember one morning I got up and all of a sudden I went, oh my God, there's no there to get to.
Yes.
It's all here.
Yes.
It's here now. And I went, that doesn't mean that nothing crappy will ever come. It means that in that, I get to choose, am I going to get sucked into that cycle of crappy, or am I going to go, wait a minute. Have you taught them about contrast and all that?
Yeah.
Okay. So in my awareness, I can go, ooh, that's the contrast, which I had to do this weekend. I was with 5 other people all over the age of 50, and they were all talking about their aches and pains and woes. And here I am in the car with them, and I finally put in the earbuds because I just didn't want to hear all of that stuff. And all of a sudden, I had the funniest thought, and I thought, isn't it funny that they think I'm crazy, okay? But they're going to choose pain and misery over a few minutes of tapping because they think it looks silly.
Right.
And I thought, well, who's freaking nuts?
That's great.
You guys. So in that awareness, it's not, even in that, I was able to look at the contrast and go, oh, that's right. Thank you for being that, because I can't wait to have car trips with people that are going to be fun, where we can play games, where we're talking about uplifting conversation. Well, it was within, by yesterday, 3 days, I got a road trip planned to go see Abraham, and I'm going with 2 people that are just off the chain, crazy, fun, good. And I'm so excited.
I love it. Okay, so I'm going to just note that Kai Marie just posted a question, and she can't chat because she has company. But the question is, so I have a dog rescue here, and someone's arriving, so there's howling in the background in case you guys hear it. I'll mute myself in a minute.
Okay.
She says, I did tapping last year and finally got used to it. So it didn't work so nicely anymore. Advice. So that's the question. Ask if you want her to clarify, ask her for clarification and she'll
Okay,
tell you.
what you mean you were saying the same thing, or you want being present, or what? Actually, I know what I'm going to say, and then you tell me if she needs something else.
Okay, great.
The whole reason we say the words is to focus.
Okay.
So if you're saying the words and you're thinking about the dishes in the kitchen sink, okay? Because we can do that.
Yeah.
Then you're not in it, okay? So if you're saying you got used to it because you weren't really present when you were doing it, could that be what she means?
So I'll let her reply, Kai Marie, if you can clarify a little bit more about what getting used to it was like, what was happening for you, or just a little more detail about your question. And she's
saying getting used to it was a good thing or a bad thing?
A bad thing, I think. So because
that's what I thought.
Hello.
Hi.
So can you
Are
hear
you
me?
hiding in your car?
She's in a bus.
No, actually, I'm in a car.
In a
So
bus.
actually, what I meant.
Yeah, go ahead.
So what I meant was that I did tapping last year really intensely, and it worked really nicely. But then I somehow got accustomed to it or something like this, so it didn't work so well. So it means that some of my issues didn't work out nicely anymore.
Okay, so you take that thing you just said, you go to the side of the hand, you go, even though that works so good, it doesn't work anymore, I love and accept myself. And even though it works so good, it doesn't work anymore. Because we got to get your little brain out of the way, honey. Your little brain's not doing you any favors. Okay? Your brain wants to go back to being in charge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So remembering that here's the best way for you guys to remember this. I always tell people, when you're doing the tapping, pretend you're calling your friend and telling them. So if you picked up the phone and called your friend, you'd go, I used to do it and it worked. It just doesn't work anymore. I don't know why it doesn't work for me anymore. Why won't it work for me? It works so good, but now I'm so used to it, it just doesn't work. Now, I guarantee you do that, and I'm telling you, in about 7 minutes, you're going to go, well, it must be working. I'm doing it. You see, you will get a shift. You will.
I see. Okay. So I have to keep on trying.
Well, try. I don't like the word trying. Keep practicing. But mostly when you're doing it, be there. Be in it. Be really mindful of the words you're saying, which really is about getting to the feeling. Okay. Remember, it's called emotional freedom technique. Is the formal name for it, and emotional freedom means you're always looking for an emotion. So let me ask you this: this idea that it's not working. Give me the first emotion you can think of.
Frustration, perhaps.
Okay, that's exactly where I went. So you would go, even though I feel so frustrated, it's not working anymore, I love and accept myself. And even though I do feel frustrated, it's not working anymore. You see? That's how simple it really is.
Yeah, and let me note here too, that like when Colette, you were talking about how you thought you were tapping on your dad, turns out you were tapping on your mom. That another way this will generalize is that, once you acknowledge the frustration that tapping doesn't work anymore, then you're working on the frustration, then some other frustrations will arise. And so, and I'm so frustrated because my boss or my work or my life or my phone card doesn't work.
Yes, and it's not unusual. Let's say you're following that frustration thread backwards is the way I say it, because you're feeling frustrated, the tapping doesn't work. All of a sudden you say, okay, when's another time I felt frustrated? Okay, that's a really good question. And you'd say, when my brother didn't show up on time. Okay, so you tap about that, and you kind of feel like where we got to with mom, where you say, well, he's an idiot. He'll always be an idiot. And it's okay. Then you say, okay, is there another time I felt frustrated? And you might go, that time I hurt my foot. Now, it's not unusual for that to lead us to pain in the body. Or I felt frustrated when I didn't know what was wrong with my stomach and the doctor didn't know. So you just want to keep asking yourself, what's the emotion? And when else have I felt this way? Those are two really, really good questions.
Yeah, so this is one of we've also talked in the class, by the way, Colette, about the nervous system, because as you probably know, I'm a therapist and I'm trained in the nervous system and in neurobiology and stuff. And so we've talked also in the class, and this is one of the ways that the nervous system communicates with us, that even though there's a piece of us that's like still frustrated, maybe we broke our foot when we were a kid and something happened that stopped us and something was really important, ball of frustration, even though that's what we're working on, what comes out is frustration with the guy at the gas station. And so when we start working at frustration with the guy at the gas station who's taking too long in front of us, or whatever, however it's coming up in the process of tapping, like in the process of the other awareness things we're doing, the other sometimes finds its way into consciousness, but it doesn't need to. It doesn't need to. As long as we just keep allowing ourselves to be experiencing whatever we're currently experiencing in the moment, it doesn't matter. We don't have to understand with the brain. We don't have to.
Right. And I want to tell you guys, since we're coming down to 6 minutes, I want to tell you one other thing that you want to do, because I know Mary's got to go at 1:30. Go to YouTube, visualization.tv. They do tons of I am videos, like 2 minutes to 20 minutes. Okay. I love the guy's voice. That's just me. Find something else if you like it. But the I am videos are a great way to wind up the tapping, a great way to help set your brain to think in terms of I am powerful, I am joyful, I'm exuberant, I am happy, I am dynamic, I'm considerate, I'm courteous, okay? Because when you say I am, whatever follows that creates. Yeah. So that's what my show was actually about just today. was I am tapping. I love I am tapping. I'm telling you what, if you go to that show from today and you do that 6 minutes of I am tapping with us, you're going to be so freaking high. Seriously.
Well, so this is a great opportunity for us to do a little plug for us, Colette. And I want to know, I'm going to put all the information for how to connect with Colette or collect with the Blissipline group or with this class. It's all going to be in the description of the video, but just give us a little blurb about yourself here.
Okay, so I started doing this 10 years ago. I do this in group and I do it one-on-one. So let's say any of you out there want to get several people together to your house. I can Skype or Messenger or FaceTime in, and everybody pays me a nominal fee. Just depends. Usually it would be like 20 bucks a person, and then we do an hour of tapping, and that way it compensates me for my time, but you're not having to pay the full 60 per hour. And you will get benefit because of borrowing benefits. I also have a page called Tappin' Girl, TAPNGRL. Tapping Into You. That's my Tappin' Girl page. And all my shows are posted on there. I do 1 to 2 shows a month on Hamilton County Television, and then we post them to my timelines. You can also find them on YouTube, and I'm in the process right now of getting all those shows set up onto a Tappin' Girl YouTube playlist so you can find them. I have on my Tappin' Girl, Tappin' Into You page, and also my Colette Liose page, but I'm trying to drive everybody over to the Tappin' Girl, Tappin' Into You page. That's where I do my live videos. What I do is I come on anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes, and I will teach kind of like I did here about concepts and ideas like permission, rules, letting go, stuff like that, and then we'll do some tapping. And then you can also go to tappinggirl.com. TAPNGRL. Go subscribe. That way my blog will automatically come out to you when I do it. And you can, it's just not hard to find me. If you can't find me, then you can't find anybody.
Yeah.
And send me questions. And one of the things that's really cool that we're going to have coming up on my show that y'all can think about is this guy that lets me do this show from his place is just amazing. He's almost got us set up where we can do Skype, where y'all will be able to somebody can Skype in. We can work on your issue, answer questions, do all kinds of stuff. And he's even going to have it set up where I'm on an earbud so that I don't get my own feedback. And this guy, he loves doing this stuff. And he's just a very, very generous soul to me that we are able to go in and he sets all this stuff up. And that's why I always want to try and drive people to his Hamilton County Television page too, because that's where you can go watch other shows that he does on his web. He calls them webisodes. But you can always shoot me a question. I'll answer as best as I can. But to do an hour of one-on-one tapping with me, I basically right now I'm charging $60 an hour. He laughs every time I say this, but it's getting ready to go up soon again.
Of course.
Because really, I know this is far too inexpensive. Mm-hmm. And believe me, with the shifts we get in an hour, it's the best. When I'm at whatever fee I'm at, it's the best money well spent.
Yeah, great. Well, I can't affirm that enough. I will absolutely affirm that both the benefits I have received and the benefits that I have shared with others have been greatly amplified by the one-on-one. But then again, if it's too much, then as she said, put a group of people together and she'll work with you as a group. So Colette is really a generous soul in that way. And I know you don't know this, but I'm passionate about it. Oh, I'm so glad you told us that, because otherwise how would we ever have known? That's awesome. And if you just look below in the comments on the video, in the description, there's going to be a link to Colette's page, and I'll put all the links and it'll all be there. But Colette, thank you. That was fabulous.
Thank you. Well, that I could do this all day.
It's so fun. Your energy is so fun, and your enthusiasm, and just also your depth of understanding. And I really, really, really. Okay. Tanya has a question. We'll have to get to that another time, but I'll just throw it out. Tanya's. You put it privately. Is that on purpose? No, this is not a private question. She says, Abe says you can't ever get to the bottom. So how does this practice fit? How is bringing up the old stuff a benefit? So we have to go, but I'm going to definitely talk about that. Maybe I'll even address it in a little video, and I'll put a link to it. really briefly, it's just because whatever's in the moment. Getting to the bottom of like the history or whatever, but whatever's in the moment can be just really,
I mean, what's the bottom?
right. What's the bottom? Exactly. So it isn't that, it's just acknowledging the present moment, experiencing, and you also can feel the distinction. And Magda says it was great. Thanks a lot.
And don't forget, you guys, go over there's taps on my timeline.
Yes.
Just do them.
Plenty of stuff. Plenty of stuff. All right. Well, thank you so much, Colette. That was just.
Thank you. Big fun. I always love seeing you, Mary.
Likewise.
Amen. Because we're the bomb.
Because we're the bomb.
We're the bomb. All right, girlie. We'll see you another time.